I've worked with team leaders all over the world, in fact, in many, many different contact centers in sales, collections, service, etc. And there are similarities across all these different cultures, all these different companies. And that is that the team leaders feel that there's a glass ceiling. I'm only allowed to, that you hear that language, I'm only allowed to do this and I can't do that. And this is the process and we must follow these metrics and we have to meet these objectives. And what I'm passionate about is working within those parameters, which are important. You know, we need to measure and to a certain extent control. Ops managers control, never. We need to control performance. We need to make sure that the client's happy. We need to make sure that the shareholders are happy. So, in my opinion, the best, as Gary said earlier, the best way to do that is to work with greasing the wheels of the team leaders and get them really fired up, get them really performing, because they're the frontline managers of your business. Okay? So let's just do a quick demo and let's see how this process works. So Gary is going to be brilliant. I'm going to ask him to do to play along with us, and because this is Game On, we're going to play a game. So, Gary, there is a bucket behind you. The objective of this game is to get, I'm the team leader, is to get this ball in the bucket. Go. You missed. Try again. You missed. Performance management coming up.
I'm trying really hard.
Try again.
Come on, Gary, just gotta get it.
Gary, you missed again. Come on. Try harder.
You show me. Okay, sorry.
It's your job, Gary.
Almost. There's no bucket.
So do your agents know where the goal is? Do they know exactly what they need to achieve? Do they know how to achieve it? Do you want to try again? Okay. Oh, there's some encouragement coming from the ranks. Do you want to try again? You missed. You missed on 6 occasions. So I'm hoping we're coming to the end of your 3-month contract.
So did you notice what was happening for some of you in the audience? How you really wanted to help Gary because you could see him failing and you were feeling like, oh, geez, shame. Because that is a violent process. That's true. But he's already there.
You'd like to get the ball in the bucket. So what do you need from me in order to help you do that? I can show you how. Okay, what, by doing it for you? Show you what you should do. Okay, so I'm going to give you the ball. What would that look like? What would I do first? I would probably ask somebody who's done it before to help me to understand how to do it. Okay, so I haven't sat where you are and got the ball in the bucket, so I'm actually flying blind now.
Okay.
I was a team leader in a different company, not in this one. I was in service, I wasn't in collections. So what do you need to do?
I need to get that ball in that bucket that is supposed to be behind.
Okay, so what information do you need from me to help you to do that?
Where is the bucket?
Where's the bucket? Okay, fantastic. Let's start with where the goal is. It's directly behind you.
How far?
How far? How would you like that measurement? In feet. Okay, as in my feet.
Yeah, your feet. Okay.
Pass the sobriety test. 8 feet
8 feet.
of these feet.
Whoa. Very good, eh?
Then everybody would want to be Gary. You would have spoiled my game a little bit, but yeah. Don't get too good. Yes, you were closer. You heard that reaction. So what other information do you need to get even closer? No, the distance from the bucket is constant. Yeah, that's where the customer is. Yeah. On the other end of the line. I'm not going to let you see the bucket. You've got the potential. Yeah, I really believe that you can do this without seeing the bucket. Okay, you need no more information. You're just going to go for it. Okay, so you missed again. This time, though, I think that it would be really helpful if I was to just give you some tips. Okay, may I do that? Okay, so the previous ball, you were to your left. This ball, you were exactly on line, just a bit short. Okay, so you were probably about 2 feet short. No, a foot short. Yeah, but your actual angle of attack was brilliant. Yeah.
Oh!
In the bucket. Okay. Do you think you could repeatedly do that?
Oh yeah, now.
Now you do.
Oh, well, the game on.
So how did it feel getting the ball in the bucket?
Very good.
Okay, and what changed from the first you've missed to how I role played with you thereafter?
Knowing more about it. Otherwise, I was hissing in the wind if I can say that for that.
Seems to be a free-for-all today on language. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So I was helping you in terms of specifically what you needed to do, your skill drills, as well as encouraging you. Okay.
Okay, so do you see the difference there? Do you see the difference in relationship? Do you see how easy the second scenario is? It requires no real magic. It's just a case of being helpful and giving the player some extra direction. So that's the coaching process. It's as simple as that. It's no big rocket science thing. You don't have to go and become an ICF accredited blah master coach, 2,000 hours. Not necessary.
I'm not a bloody blah.
Oh, yeah, he's not on. Yeah. So out of that comes a few key learnings for us. We're going to do another demo after this. The first one is this idea of working in bite-sized chunks. And this is something that, see how it sits with you, but in the field we've experienced quite a lot of resistance to this idea. Because when you've got somebody who's doing a whole bunch of stuff that you can see as wrong, the first thing is, well, if I tell it all to you, you'll fix it quicker. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Because all that's going to happen if I tell you you're doing 20 things wrong is you're just going to start obsessing about failure and not actually picking the one most important thing to fix first, second, third, fourth. So that's one of the roles that the coach has, is when somebody's not doing well, is not to pressurize them, but rather to just find what's the one thing you can just do differently and get that working. And then when that's working, what's the next thing you can do differently? Get that working, and so on. And all the time, you're grooving through the process. So we've got this coaching methodology which works very differently to the way I think a lot of people think about coaching. I don't know where your mind is around coaching, but the one thing that most people say around coaching that I hear is it takes an hour. That's how long a coaching session should take, is an hour. And we're saying should definitely not take an hour. This is not complicated stuff. What you saw Mark doing is exactly what you're doing with a player. It's just one little skill that you're trying to give them. Just do it this way around. Put your left hand first and your right hand afterwards, or whatever it is. But it's really, really simple. So we've got this concept of first you need to observe. So coaching, if you're a sports coach, coaching is based on observation. You watch the player playing. That's how all sports coaches operate. So the sports coach isn't in the pub either. He's on the side of the field watching the players play. And the reason they're doing that is because the observer can see so much more than the player. The player is busy playing the game. They can't see what's working and what's not working, whereas the coach can. So observation is really important, and one of the things that comes out of this for us, because we've got a system catching all this stuff, is you've now got insight into how people are playing the game that you've designed. Are they playing the game plan that you designed, or are they doing something else? The next thing is there's a planning process that one of the things we found really important is that you don't let coaches just bang into a coaching session and start coaching people, because all that's going to happen, we found, people get criticized and nothing happens, and instead of having a 15-minute coaching session, you've got a 1-hour coaching session before you know it. So you've got to do some planning around what's the skill you want to work on in the coaching session and how you're going to do that. Then 15-minute coaching session, just dealing with the one thing that they're going to change now, and then the player goes away and practices for 3 to 5 days. Then you repeat the process over and over and over, and at the end of a few months, you've sorted the whole lot out, but properly this time, because the player's been in those 3 or 4 days are busy grooving the skills into their subconscious. That's what they're doing when they practice. And the same goes for e-learning. So one of the things that we think is massive potential is the e-learning environment, because e-learning allows us to work with knowledge in really small chunks. And it allows us to work with small bits of theory, lots of practice. So you can do 5 minutes of here's the basic idea and half an hour of practice working with that basic idea this way, that way, and the next way. You can gamify it and you can make it interesting, and you can measure the process. So much better than pulling people into classrooms or giving them workbooks or all that kind of stuff. It makes the process much more manageable. So basically what we did is this, I've worked with MultiChoice for many years and started off doing some coaching training for their team leaders, and they loved it, as team leaders always love coaching training that they go on. And then it got to the hard bit, which is, okay, so now you've got to implement this stuff. And things got a bit squirrely in that process because we had no means of managing it. So the need arose, well, we need a system to actually give us visibility of the change process, the coaching process itself. So we built Game On, which is a cloud-based platform. It sits on the internet and you log on to it. And what it does, if I just go back, what it does is it gives you design a game plan. So if you're doing an outbound sales call, there's a way to do that that's going to be successful. If you're doing an outbound collections call, there's a way to do that that's going to be successful. It's not a big mystery. You know, you've been in this business a long time. So Gary's been at this for 15 years, at least. And there's a way of having an inbound service call, managing that in a good way. There's a way to do that. It's not a big mystery. And so what we do is we build that, essentially that blueprint, or a game plan as we call it, and then we observe against it, but in a different way to the way QA do stuff, because we're not compliance focused. We're not trying to check up, did you do that, didn't you do that? Rather, we're looking for the gray areas and the nuances of how well did you do that thing that was meant to influence the customer to trust you, as an example. Then we take them through a planning process so that they go into a planning session properly organized. And then we've actually got a tool that they use in the coaching session to provide structure to the process. So they've got it all set out. And because we work to a game plan, we're able to do two things which sports coaches do a lot of. The one is, well, the one that I do a lot of. The one thing we do is we're able to design what we call awareness questions. So when you're trying to get somebody to do some learning through a questioning process rather than telling them the answer, sometimes they get a little bit lost. So awareness questions for us are questions that focus the player's mind on a specific area that you want them to get some learning in. So we're able to, because we've got a game plan, we're able to design those questions up front. So we've got a panel of experienced people in the business that can do that, and then offer those to your team leaders. And then the other thing that we are able to design is skill drills.